Hey, this is Dave Pryor. Welcome to Agile 2018. We're going to be doing live interviews all week long. This stuff is streaming on Facebook. Johanna Rothman and Mark Kilby are here. First interview of the conference. Very glad that you're here.
I'm very glad, and I've never been on Facebook Live, so this
And neither have I.
doubly exciting.
And we're doing it in the hall this year, so if you hear a lot of background noise, that's why. So it's going to be different.
We drew a big crowd.
Yeah, the audience of thousands are all here just to see this. So you're both doing a couple different talks. You did your road mapping talk this morning.
Yep.
And you're doing a talk together tomorrow, which we're going to talk about right now. And then you've got distributed teams, which is
in the
on
afternoon.
Tuesday, tomorrow. You got two tomorrow.
Yeah, I got
That's
two tomorrow. Yeah.
But I'm not going to ask you about that, well, sort of about that, but I'm not going to ask you about road mapping because I want to hear about the writing experiences you had. And what's going to happen in this talk you're doing tomorrow together.
Okay.
So back in the Friday morning of Agile 2017, Mark and I were walking together to sessions, and I said, Mark, you see anything interesting here about distributed Agile teams? And he said, no, it's the same old stuff. And I said, Mark, want to write a book? And he said, yeah.
Well, did that make, because you write a book every year.
Oh, practically, yeah.
Did that make you nervous at all?
No.
That would make me nervous.
No. So what made me nervous was, so the other part of it she asked before then was, when are you going to write your book on distributed Agile teams? I went, because I've never heard good stories about writing your own book. Everyone's struggled with it, except Johanna. And then she said, well, what do you think about pair writing? I went, ooh, yeah, let's do that. So that was exciting.
Okay.
That was exciting. So Johanna and I had collaborated on a few things. I'd actually taken one of her online writing courses. So we were already a little bit comfortable with each other's way of writing. Yeah.
And feedback.
Right,
because I think that especially when you pair, we give each other feedback all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. So,
and that's one of the key things about your talk, right? About how to communicate.
Yeah. So we it took us a little while to get started because the book frame was kind of smushy.
Okay.
We didn't quite know where to start. We finally said, let's just start. And we started. I mean, at some point you start the project.
But did you outline everything first?
Oh God, no.
Or you just started writing?
So there's something called the book frame that I learned from the Pragmatic Workshop.
Okay.
And that talks about who are the users for your book.
Okay.
What do they need to learn? What will they be able to do after this? I mean, it's a set of 4 questions.
Okay.
And you do it for the entire book, and you do it for a chapter at a time.
Okay.
So we had a little trouble with the entire book. And that's when I realized, or maybe you realized, I don't know which
it's
one
break
of us
the work down
realized.
into smaller pieces, and it might be a little easier.
So we spiked it and started writing the first couple chapters.
Okay.
Yeah, we just said, well, start to write. And that's when we realized, not only did we actually not know what the outline needed to be,
Right.
but we would evolve this as we went, and we actually knew a lot more than we thought we knew.
Okay.
So we ended up, we kind of bounced back and forth between the first couple chapters as we had ideas. We went, oh wow, we've got a chapter here, we've got a chapter. And so we started mapping out the other chapters and then coming back to those first 2 and writing them, but we would pause and just keep building out the maps for the other pieces.
To the backlog.
Yeah.
Right.
We have to tie it back.
Yep.
Well, yeah, and we did. So we actually tried to write in order. So, I mean, you write articles, you start at the top, you think, no. And you start at the top, you work your way to the bottom, and then you realize what you wrote at the bottom is really what should be at the top.
Yeah.
I mean, this is typical writing stuff. So we started to write, and we realized we were working on a middle chapter. So we said, okay, that's number 3. What's really number 1?
Okay.
Right. So, and when we reorganized for the most recent release of it, because we're releasing in progress on LeanPub, we realized that we could just reorganize and we could take people on a better journey through the book. And that's what we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about,
Well, I was say, and we ended up with that probably having a new chapter 1 about 3 or 4 times.
Oh, yeah.
As we realized, okay, this is a better journey to take them on.
So, I mean, it's great because it's actually doing what we're all trying to teach people to do anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I want to hear about how the writing together works when you're separated.
So we use Google Docs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's, so right now, Google Docs is the best collaboration tool for English language writing.
Okay.
Right now. Right. I really wish we could just write in Markdown. But what we now do is we write in Markdown in Google Docs.
Yeah.
So we use all the pound signs, we use underscore for italics, we use all that stuff. We make pictures and we don't make tables. I mean, all the stuff that you would have to do for an ebook, we just use Google Docs for that.
Okay.
And every so often, so Mark teases me about I have too many tabs open, and because my browser is getting slower and slower and slower, and
so I've been teaching her about her tool set and how she might want to reduce it sometimes. So it'll
Oh, it's just so funny. And then we use Zoom so we can see each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so what's really interesting about Zoom is when one of us is writing, the other is often researching or cleaning up behind.
But you're both together online.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it's one is really running the keyboard to write. The other one is kind of navigating. All right, where do we need to go next?
Software that way. That would be really cool.
That would be beautiful. Yeah.
Funny, it's just like it. Just like it.
Okay. Did you have to develop any special techniques? I mean, I know part of it is like the phrasing that you guys have to use with each other to communicate.
Oh yes.
So I'm really curious about that part.
So we'll say we have quite a few of this in the talk tomorrow, but often Johanna would watch me on Zoom and I'd go, and she would know that usually she said something that was probably in one sentence that should have been like a page.
Okay.
And sometimes I have to verbalize and say, I think you need to unpack that a bit.
Okay.
Maybe a lot. And so we'd have to go back and pull it apart. And that's how one would navigate and one would drive. And there were sometimes she would do it for me as well.
So when one of you's writing, the other one's kind of researching or watching what's being written.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So it is true pairing.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Is it hard to get used to doing? I mean, writing to me seems like a very private thing. Doing it with another person, kind of watching. It's almost like somebody's watching you doing your morning grooming or something like that.
We make typos.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we both do that. Just like me. Just last week, Mark said to me, I sometimes reminded him of Cummings. Because when I get so excited, my fingers hit the shift key for too long.
Okay.
So too many letters are capitalized.
It's all capital.
And so he goes back and fixes it. But I do this in everything. This is not just our writing. I get so excited with what I'm doing. I don't calm down. I don't stay put. So my fingers go farther than they should.
Okay. Well, so you're cleaning, you're reducing like the bugs and things like that.
Some of it's cleanup. Some of it's research on the topic we're writing. Sometimes it's research on just even what we've written, because now we've got 8 chapters done.
Wow.
And we're going, okay, how do we talk about that? And do we need to talk some more about it in this chapter, or go back and refactor a little bit on a previous chapter? So we've done a lot of that.
Yeah, we've done a lot of refactoring.
So we've talked before about your writing process, and I'm curious about how, I mean, you obviously know each other, but how do you figure out where the boundaries are about, like, how can I say this in a way that will get my message across without, like, shutting the person down or slamming their idea? Like, if you write something and he's like, meh, like, how would you...
He says that.
Okay.
Yeah, I do, yeah. So
did you discuss that up front? Like, we're not going to have any walls there. If you see something bad, you're going to call it out, and then the other person's going to have to be able to...
We did. I think actually a lot of it started with humor.
Okay.
And saying things like, when one of us was having a rough day, you know, a long day with a client or at work, we'd say something like, okay, the writer did not show up today, meaning, and so you're going to have to help me on this one. So just admitting, you know, today I need help. So I'm going to write something that's probably complete garbage, and I really need you to sweep up afterwards. But let's talk. And then other times, we would both have like parts of an idea, and we felt like, all right, let's talk through this first. Let's plan what we're going to do in this next segment, and then see who wants to take it and be the writer, and the other be the navigator.
Okay. So how much has what you learned in writing as a distributed team found its way into the book?
Oh, a lot,
A
actually.
lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we are a distributed agile team.
Yeah.
We're just a pair, but I nudged Mark to get to continuous integration,
Okay.
and that actually showed us a bunch of things that we needed to fix and figure out. So that was good. And
So that's you constantly releasing stuff to ring clubs so
Yeah.
that people can.
Yeah.
You've got
Well, and
people in
even
the
if
public
we-
that are reviewing it.
and even if we don't release to our customers, we release to ourselves.
Okay.
So we almost always have a current PDF, a current preview, as opposed to a current published version. And given where we are right now with the book, almost every time we finish a chapter, we do a
Oh, at
preview.
least.
But we are at the point where we have so much stuff written already. It's really worth our while to make a preview of the entire book.
Yeah.
Make sure it all still works.
So if you're doing code, you can set up automated testing.
Yeah.
One of the things that I find is that when I write something and I've read it like 15, 16, I stop seeing the word. Like I
Right,
can't,
right.
I miss all this mistakes and things like that, which the brain can't do automated testing. So how do you work through that?
Well,
We have reviewers.
You have,
yeah,
okay, you
yeah,
other
we have
people.
reviewers, but sometimes it also helps for us to ping pong on reviewing, and sometimes we just have to say, all right, we need to take a break today.
Yeah.
And if it's a weekend in particular, we're going to commit to reading just this section and coming back on Monday, and then decide, are we okay with this? Do we need to refactor it more? Do we need to toss it? That was another thing I learned from Johanna. Don't be afraid to toss anything. Just toss it. Yeah.
Well, we
Very
do
lean.
have a folder called "Stuff to Put Somewhere Maybe"
Okay.
document, and I always feel so much better after I put stuff in, stuff to put somewhere. I never look at it again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but
all
you don't
my
want
books-
to. That's the thing that scares me about throwing the things away, and people are like,
Yeah.
well, it'll come back. I'm like, I don't know if it's going to come back.
But a lot of small stuff we just tossed. We figured, if it's important,
You don't need
we'll write it again.
Leave it out.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So when is the book going to be done?
So we think fall,
Okay. Yeah.
because we are very close to being done with chapter 9. We have 3 or 4 more chapters.
Okay.
We're not altogether sure. I know this sounds funny to people. You don't know what's in your book? Well, no.
Well, you want to be able to expand it if you need to.
Yeah.
Right. And we're really trying to figure out what guidance do we say to people.
Hey,
if,
Jake, you're live on Facebook, standing right in front of the camera. Say hi, Jake.
Hi, Jake.
I just want to say hi.
Hey,
You're one of the
man.
best people I've ever met. You're an awesome individual.
That was awesome.
Only
That was
live,
good.
baby.
Oh, and Howard made him do it. All right, and I totally lost my train of thought.
I did too.
All right,
You
so-
were asking about when the book would be.
Okay,
Yeah.
around November, because it's still growing and expanding.
Yeah.
It'll be done when it's done.
And we need to figure out if some of this goes into a different book, and
Yeah.
we need to
Okay.
figure out where.
Yeah, because we're already getting some conversations and feedback from people who have previewed it
Okay.
and said, "Have you covered this?" Or this was interesting. I wonder if you could expand on that more. So
Well, that's great that you're getting that thing.
Oh
yeah.
Well, and one of our reviewers told me he read, and this was before we changed the Avoid Chaos chapter, that he realized that they were trying to do geographically distributed Agile with 12 hours offset. And we said, don't do that. Don't do that.
Okay.
Do something else. Because you can't get the collaboration.
So, all right, we're going to just segue into this.
All right.
If it is a 12-hour or whatever the offset of time is,
Yeah.
and I'm building something, how do you do that?
So
Gurus of distributed teams.
Yeah.
So
Because that
if
question
you
never
have-
goes away.
If
No.
you have at least 4 hours of overlap
Right.
every day, you can make it work.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
Do you
still a
pair
lot
your
of
mob
work.
together or something?
Yeah.
Like that?
Right.
Yeah, you can make it work. So East Coast to West Coast of the U.S., not a problem.
Yeah.
Some Europe to East Coast, not so much of a problem.
But Australia and the U.S., impossible.
So, well, very, very
Maybe.
challenging.
Maybe.
So when Shane does IC Agile,
Right.
and we actually collaborated on the first workshop for geographically distributed Agile teams,
Okay.
and we pair wrote it in Google Docs all those years ago.
Okay.
So Shane would get up in the morning, and I would do it in the afternoon.
Okay.
So that's New
So
Zealand.
you just time shift your schedules
So,
to be able to.
and it was still inside of more or less reasonable time. So the real problem is when you have somebody in China, a couple of people in Eastern Europe, a couple of people in
Yeah.
Western Europe,
Yeah.
one person on the East Coast and one person on the West Coast. That doesn't work. It
Okay,
does not
so-
work.
It doesn't work if you're trying to pair them up.
Well, it does not work for Agile. It's a collaboration.
Yeah.
And you need handoffs.
But I mean, I have right now. I have a team with a team member in Thailand, some in Central Time Zone, and a couple in Pacific Time Zone.
Okay.
So those shouldn't work. However, they do time shift and they choose to time shift. They haven't been told to
Okay.
time shift. So that's an important part of it. Is
Yeah.
do they have a choice of
Can
when
you
to
adjust
time?
your life?
Yeah.
Are you willing to adjust?
So one of the guys, he's a night owl. So for his time zone, it works for him to shift later.
Okay.
And then he's got his day to do whatever he wants to with his significant others.
Okay.
And that works well for him. And so we do a lot of that in the organization I'm in now.
Okay. And that's what you're talking about. That
Having that choice. So it's not just declaring this is when we're all going to meet. It's no, what's going to work well for the individual as well as the team.
yeah.
That's an important part of it.
Or all you people in India are trying. You're staying up late.
No,
You're
yeah,
getting.
it's
up
not
early. 'Cause
imposing.
We're
that.
American.
Right.
No.
That's
You're not.
crazy.
No.
You know. You do
That's
it.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the companies have to learn to give teams the option.
Yes.
So if they really want Agile teams, the teams have to be autonomous in how they choose to be Agile.
Okay.
And that includes their time zones.
Yeah.
So we have a couple minutes before we have to let Mr. Kottmeyer in. Your roadmap.
Yeah.
Can you give us?
So a lot of roadmaps look like timed wish lists, right? We're
Yeah.
going to do this in this quarter, and this quarter, and this quarter. Instead of that, think of the big black line. What's the minimum we need to do in this quarter, and then the other stuff below it. The big black line makes all the difference.
But they push everything up to the top of the line.
Well, you cannot have it all and know that you're going to get it. So what do
Okay.
you really want to do? And do you need any experiments? Well, how well defined is the customer's problem?
Okay.
If the
yeah.
customer's problem is well defined, you can use any Agile approach. You can use an incremental or an iterative life cycle. You can roadmap to your heart's content. As long as you have uncertainty and you want experiments and MVPs and MMFs and what one of
Whatever
my
acronym
clients
you want to
call
use.
a minimum adoptable feature set.
Right.
If you want a feedback to inform your work, you need to think about flow.
Okay. But do you think it's possible to say, like, if there's 50 things I want, I can promise you, we'll give you this thing.
Yeah,
If you're willing to let all the other stuff.
yeah,
Because then it does get away. Well, I think it was Roman that called it the wish list,
Yeah.
yeah.
right? And that would give you a chance to get away from that. They get some certainty.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Awesome. So if they want to get in touch with you,
Yeah.
I have to scroll down here. So they can go to jrothman.com
Yep.
or markkilby.com. And we've got Twitter. Your Twitter stuff should be up on the screen. And live on the Facebook. And this was great. Thank you.
And
Thank
well, I was
you.
waiting for Jake to come back too. But
I know. I don't think Howard sent him back yet. So we need to send somebody to walk in front of the interviews at SIQ. But thank you guys for being here. It's great
Thank
seeing you
you.
again.
That was fun.
Thanks,
for
Dave.
coming. This is awesome. Keep watching all week. We're going to do another interview in a few minutes with Mike Kottmeyer. And if you can't be here, this is why we're doing it, to give you a sense of what's happening here at the Agile Conference. And make sure to check out the book. What's the book called? You have a title for the book?
From chaos to successful distributed Agile teams.
All right. From chaos to successful distributed Agile teams on LeanPub.
On LeanPub.
Awesome. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thank
Dave.
you.
All right. Be back soon.